is Alice Gasparini. She is a PhD student with Professor Venturelli. Is it right? No, it's not yours. Who does with you? No. It's Professor Dan, sorry. I was wrong in my notes. Enrico, I apologize. Where I was? There. And she will present fantastic data about systemic and muscular contributor to exercise limitation in COPD. The stage is yours.
Good morning everyone, I'm Alice and today I will present you my PhD project about exercise limitation in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. COPD is a progressive pulmonary disease characterized by chronic respiratory symptoms and an only partially reversible airflow limitation. This disease has an impact on patients' daily life, particularly in reducing their physical capacity and their quality of life. This physical deterioration results both from central factors and peripheral factors, and the aims of this study were to identify central and peripheral determinants of physical deterioration in COPD patients and to evaluate their potential as biomarker of severity and exacerbations. This project is also a part of a project of relevant national interest and together with the University of Udine and Pavia, and that's why today I will not talk about the second aim and I will focus more on the non-invasive measurement we have made for this study. We recruited COPD patients that follow these listed inclusion and exclusion criteria. In particular, they need to have severe to very severe airflow obstruction with FEV1 under 50% of the predicted and no other comorbidities. This made this recruitment really difficult, and for this reason we decided to exceed a little bit on this FEV1, and we included also patients with 55% of the predicted. We recruited a total of 14 participants for the healthy control group and 7 COPD patients. They were matched for age and they showed significant differences in spirometric data. The experimental protocol was divided in 4 days. On day 1 we performed a cardiopulmonary exercise test with metabolic, hemodynamic and transcutaneous PCO2 measurement, together with blood gas samples analyzed with the ISTAT and arterial hemogas sample at rest. On day 2 we performed upper and lower limb strength measurement with the following protocols. On day 3 vascular and mitochondrial function together with the ultrasound sarcopenic index, and on the last day the vastus laterali biopsy. We evaluated the efficiency of oxygen transport based on the Fick's law in order to determine the contribution of central and peripheral factors, and also the efficiency of gas exchange, evaluating the alveolar arterial oxygen gradient of oxygen partial pressure with the equation described of Run and Fenn. Linked to that, we wanted also to analyze the physiological death volume, and we based on the article of Cao et al. Of 2021, and as we had the opportunity to measure the CO2 concentration in different ways, and as we found a lot of concordance between our data and Cao's data, we then proceeded calculating the physiological dead space using the transcutaneous PCO2. Finally, we wanted to evaluate the mitochondrial capacity evaluating the time constant, the tau, obtained from the slope of the oxygenation of hemoglobin during transient ischemia using a monoexponential function. What we found is that COPD patients have lower values of oxygen uptake peak and ventilation peak, and they had higher values of VA-VCO2 ratio, and these indicate ventilatory inefficiency. Here in this table we can see ventilatory thresholds, and what I want to underline is that the control group shows first ventilatory threshold at 48% of their maximal, while COPD patient at 64% of their maximal, while it was not possible to obtain values for the second respiratory threshold in COPD patients. Then COPD patients shows higher values of physiological dead space compared to the control group in every step of the incremental exercise tests, and also higher values of alveolar arterial gradient of oxygen partial pressure, and also an increasing of this value over the incremental exercise test. Then we found that COPD patients have lower values of cardiac output and also lower values of oxygen delivery and arterial venous oxygen difference compared to the control group. What it will be really interesting to see are these graphs. As you can see in this one, we have the relation between cardiac output and oxygen uptake. And what we can see, these lines are arterial venous oxygen difference. What we can see is that COPD patients has values of these arterial venous difference that stay in a range between 5 and 10%, while the control group stay in a range between 5 and 15%. And on the other graph shows the oxygen uptake compared to the oxygen delivery, and what we can see is that COPD patients shows values that range between 0.2 and 0.6 of oxygen extraction coefficiency, while the control group stay in a range between 0.4 and 0.8. And so what we can see is that COPD patients seems to have a lower capacity to deliver and to extrapolate oxygen from the periphery. And this is linked with what we found about the mitochondrial function, because COPD patients, as you can see in this graph, shows higher values of the time constant compared to the control group. In conclusion, what we can see is that COPD patients seems to have a lower ventilatory function, together with higher physiological dead space and lower values of oxygen transport and utilization at the periphery. What it will be really interesting as this work in progress is to integrate all these non-invasive data with strength values, vascular function tests, and also mostly the biopsy in order to determine better where the possible mitochondrial dysfunction can come from. These are my references, and thank you for your attention.
Alice, now you can also ventilate. Such a run, amazing, eh? A lot of data, Daniel, isn't it? Questions? Yeah.
Thank you very much for this interesting and intriguing topic. I look forward to seeing the biopsies because in COPD population has been described already a big shift towards type 2 fibers. It's something like 80% type 2 fibers versus type 1 fibers. So this may explain, at least in part, the result you get. So I look forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
Any other? Come on. Nothing else?
Just.
Thank you.
Culinary University of Florence. This is just a curiosity. Is there any difference in the dimension of mitochondria? Just trying to recover.
Yes, since we collaborate with the University of Pavia and Udine, now we have to collect all the data together and to see, of course, if there are differences about the mitochondrial, the numbers of mitochondrial, the function of the mitochondria. So it will be really interesting to colleague all my data with all the data that they collected and yeah, they had analyzed.
There's time for one more. So, clap your hand. Thank you very much.